Mary Poppins Returns is the sequel to the Disney classic Mary Poppins, which came out 54 years ago. I have a very unpopular opinion when it comes to the first Mary Poppins, and that is I don't really care for it. I just find it to be very obnoxious and lacks a lot of focus. I also really don't like Mary Poppins as a character, but I do really love the songs. I was excited for Mary Poppins Returns though because it actually looked a little more interesting, and I must say it kind of is an improvement over the original. Unfortunately, it's still not a good movie. Despite being called a sequel, it feels more like a remake. Nearly every scene and every musical number feels like something from the original. Every chance it gets, it tries to remind the audience of certain moments from the first movie, including dropping some lines for nostalgic purposes. At one point, Michael Banks says, "Let's go fly a kite." And that's just pretty much them screaming, "Remember this?" Because anyone who has seen the original will recognize that line. Throughout the movie, I found these references and similarities to be very distracting. Mary Poppins taking care of the Banks children, the Lamplight musical number, which is supposed to be the movie's version of the chimney sweep scene. There's even a whole scene that takes place in a 2D animated world. Speaking of which, I have to talk about that scene because it's one of the only good things about the movie. Visually, it looks very impressive. The way they have the actors interact with the scenery and the way their outfits blend in with the world they're in is very impressive. I saw Aquaman the same weekend I saw Mary Poppins Returns, and the whole scene looked more believable than anything in Aquaman. The scene itself, however, goes on for a little too long. I mean, I didn't mind seeing this whole place for a while, but it ends up dragging on, and it changes tone very quickly from being happy to being very dark with that chase scene. Emily Blunt is pretty good as Mary Poppins. She matches the attitude to near perfection, and it's always great to hear her sing. However, I still don't think Mary Poppins is a good character. She just doesn't seem like the kind of woman who should take care of children. Plus, I wish we could get to know more about her. And there are even certain scenes that make me wonder why she even needed to be there. One of the reasons I wanted to see this movie is because of Lin-Manuel Miranda, since I'm a huge Hamilton fan. He definitely looked like he was having fun, but it felt like he was trying too hard to be like Bert from the first movie, right down to the bad accent. The only difference is he's a lamplighter instead of a chimney sweep. Despite being a Bert clone, Lin doesn't do a bad job of acting. The rest of the cast, however, gave some pretty weak performances, especially the three Banks children. They can neither act nor sing, and they each only have one trait. Georgie is the child who has a younger personality and tends to get into trouble, and the other two don't really act like children. They act like responsible adults, and they shove these traits into our faces throughout the entire movie. I didn't find them interesting at all, and I found it hard to care about them. But my absolute biggest disappointment regarding the cast would have to be Colin Firth, who plays the villain. Loved his performance in Kingsman, did not like his performance here. I also felt his character didn't really need to be included. I'm sure this movie would have gone the same way if there wasn't a villain. Oh yeah, and Meryl Streep is in the movie, but she doesn't really do much, and her entire scene could have been cut out. As for the songs, they're good, but unlike the songs from the original movie, I probably won't remember them over time. And again, they feel like they're trying to be like the songs from the original, and with the exception of a couple of songs, they don't move the plot at all. At least we get to hear Lin rap. That's always great. There's also this very dumb climax which they spend a lot of time on, but it ends up losing all weight because Mary Sue Poppins ends up helping out at the last minute even though she could have done it in the first place. That climax becomes pointless anyway because someone comes in as a Deus Ex Machina and makes everything work out in the end. So yeah, I wasn't a fan of this film, but I still thought it was better than the original because it felt a little more focused. It just tried too hard to be like the original and it ended up falling flat. It's not awful, but it's not something I would come back to. It's not good, but it's not the worst Disney movie to come out this year. Nutcracker in the Four Realms is the worst Disney movie to come out this year. Mary Poppins Returns has some good moments in it, but it's practically mediocre in every way.